How do we know we are where we are? We know we are where we are by the visual field and by the commonality of the visual field. For instance, when I look around me right now, I recognize the space I am in as being my home location. I know this because of the objects that are here, by what I see in my visual field. And from having been here and seen it prior, I can cognize and identify this as such. However, now follow me. Close your eyes. Has the visual field changed? What are you seeing in front of your closed eyes now? Is it the same as when the eyes were open? You are in a new location, simply every time you close your eyes. There's many names for this in the field. Most contemporary people will call it the 3D blackness. In the past, it has been called the void, the 0 point, the nothingness from which everything is created. It is ground zero for anything you would like to bring, create in your life. Begins here. Scratch from a blank board. So by simply having your eyes closed, if you will let cognition take place within your awareness, that even though you experience yourself as still being in the environment you're in when your eyes are open, you are also co-simultaneously, when the eyes are closed, in a secondary location from which all visual landscapes, all visual realities pattern from. So if you take your attention into the field, into what you're seeing now in front of your closed eyes, and begin to give this field more of your attention, you will go deeper and deeper into that location. We're going to go into how to stimulate the visuals to keep your interest active. For one, the more you are able to see in front of your closed eyes, the more interesting it will become, the more you have an object to focus on and go into. And so here we will go into a few ways to stimulate hypnagogic imagery, visual imagery, to hold your interest. So the first way I'm going to suggest is a technique that I have practiced most of my adult life. It's called Tritak. This is a gazing practice. This particular gazing practice is done on a light source, in this case, a beeswax candle flame. And it's a simple practice. It takes a couple minutes. There's a formal practice and an informal practice. The formal practice, you will take your gaze into the flame and without blinking, hold your attention here until either your eyes begin to water or you reach a certain time frame in the gaze in which it's simply enough. We'll leave that there. So you simply light the candle. You place the candle I'm going to say about arm's length away from you at eye level. This is all rather important to the technique. I don't have enough space here to put this, and so I'm just going to hold mine right in front of me. You'll have yours on a table or something to hold it, of course, so you can give your full attention. You simply take your gaze, your attention, into the flame and hold it here. In the informal practice, don't worry about whether the eyes are blinking. Just gaze at the flame, feel the flame, enjoy the sensation. And you'll do this for roughly 2 minutes. It's important to not take your eyes away from the flame, because right now we're creating a template, and it's impacting the awareness right now during the gaze. After 2 minutes, you're going to close the eyes. And ideally, you will see an after image of the flame in front of your closed eyes. It will be dancing all over your field, and try to get it steady in the center of your field. And just look in the direction of it for as long as it continues to appear in front of the closed eyes. I do suggest beeswax candles for this practice. The glow will be stronger. It will be more impactful than the chemical candles that are on the markets today with the scents and all that kind of stuff. So I would go with beeswax candles, unscented, for the proper glow and light quotient to actually allow you to create the after image you will see in front of your closed eyes. Now, another method would be sensory deprivation. And a very simple practice of sensory deprivation we can practice, especially visual sensory deprivation, is to palm the eyes. And so you just take the butt of your hand here, and you're going to press them into the eye sockets. You will have to apply significant pressure, but not so much pressure you're going to do damage. So you rest the butt of the hand over the eyes and press. Press lightly, but keep pressing until you begin to see the visuals. It should happen pretty much immediately. It looks just like those psychedelic patterns that you'll often see in these types of videos on the internet these days, the Mandelbrot sets and different geometrical patterns that are moving and morphing and very fast. Usually it's very fun to watch. This is what is happening in the consciousness behind your conscious awareness at all times. You can key into it anytime you like in using this simple technique. Palming the eyes. I don't suggest doing this a lot. Don't do this a lot. Period. Another form of sensory deprivation is by using a mindfold mask. And so these are great. These block out 100% of the light, and you would simply put it on, adjust it to where you're not getting any light through any of the sides, and you wear this with the eyes open. It will be very black inside here as no light is creeping in through it all, and you know that what you begin to see from behind here is not coming from the environment around you, but is arising from within your consciousness. And this is important to begin to glean. This is important to begin to more consciously cognize more of the time. Reality is from the inside out. It's from the void, and from the void visual environments pattern out into what we call reality and reality systems, those 3D environments that surround sound us. Okay, the last way, no, there's two more ways. Another way to stimulate visual is simply by turning yourself upside down. How many of you have ever tried this? How many of you have ever tried this specifically to induce hypnagogic visuals? A simple inversion. I see one hand going up out there. A simple inversion to do is simply a standing forward fold. Stand up, bend forward from the waist, and let yourself dangle there for a period of time. Close your eyes and just observe what begins happening in front of the closed eyes. This won't be as powerful as or as potent as a headstand, because in a headstand, the crown of the head is being grounded to the earth, and the weight being applied in an opposite direction than normal stimulates the visuals. Which leads us to number 4, the breath. The breath is the most powerful tool you have. There is nothing that can't be done with the breath. So the way to use the breath to very quickly alter the brainwave patterns, which is the core happening that allows the hypnagogic imagery, the visuals from within your awareness, not from the outside environment, but from within your consciousness, to begin shifting into patterns that are very different from the patterns you see when you open your eyes. Okay, or at least to begin, they're going to be the geometric color patterns. Okay, the very fast-moving, morphing geometric color patterns. So right now we're going to do a breathing technique that I have practiced for 30 years, roughly, and have taught for quite some time. And this is an excellent breathing pattern to practice if you are an out-of-body explorer, astral projector, lucid dreamer. Plavini Pranayam. Plu means to swim or float. Plava means floating. Plavini is that which makes one float. To practice, make a deep, full, quick, audible inhale. Retain the breath for a comfortable duration, then exhale freely. Envision a freediver in the water taking a large breath before going under. This breath requires that you take a full breath at a very rapid rate. To support this movement, relax the body fully, most especially the belly and chest. Let them effortlessly and greatly expand with each inhale. Flare the nostrils. Let's do one round of 12 breaths. Begin. If you followed me, you might have noticed that the imagery behind your closed eyes began changing almost immediately upon retaining the breath. So this is almost what could also be considered a sensory deprivation, and the fact that you are depriving the brain and central nervous system of the regular flow of oxygen it is more normally accustomed to. And in blocking off that flow and retaining the breath there at the top of the breath specifically, you may notice the patterns begin to shift almost immediately. The brainwave patterns shift from that predominant beta structure into a predominant alpha and even sometimes theta structure, depending on how long the practice continues, and even goes into the delta format. And so as you practice this breath, as your retentions become more full, you'll dive deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay, so those are the ways I am going to suggest to you today to help stimulate the visuals once you have done the simple technique of closing the eyes, witnessing, observing the visual field, the darkness, the blackness, and if you're very fortunate, the 3D blackness in which you can still retain full conscious awareness, still induce the physical body to do whatever practice you want it to do, whether that is simply sit there or breathe in a particular pattern or something else. These are ways to stimulate the visuals. We're going to be going into the concepts of reality and dream. We're going to be going into the importance of learning how to place these on a level playing field, observing them, cognizing them as equivalents, and learning to use the terms interchangeably. This is important. It's important to the conscious OBE because fundamentally, the conscious OBE, what the conscious OBE is a vacating and escaping of the duality structure, which sees things as separate and different, and an entering into unity, consciousness, into where everything and everyone is a singularity, where consciousness is the fundamental component, inside which is everything else, including this person, your person, and everything you see all around you. So when my process first began, and I'm going to go into this just a bit to use it as a basis because my own experience is what I use to help mentor others at this point in time. So when my process first began, my own larger consciousness very much right from the get-go, wanted me to be aware of or cognize or see that when I got up to start my day each morning, I was still dreaming. Okay, and so this is how it began for me. They wanted me to see reality is over there and dream is over here, because this is the reverse of how consensus in our particular reality sees things. They did not want me to be as affected by the consensus view. My own view was very different, but here in consensus reality, we are affected by consensus view. And so I began the process of just saying to myself, when I got up each morning, I'm still dreaming. And really looking around myself and experiencing the idea that I was in a dream environment. Now, this is really magical when it begins also. It's magical always. It's magical now. So doing this is also very fun. But it begins the process. It begins the process of being able to use these concepts interchangeably. It also begins the process of an alteration in your brainwaves, okay, which puts an alteration in the way you conceive of and perceive of reality, and therefore experience reality. What we like to call reality and what we like to call dream. So once my brainwaves began to alter, once my patterns began to shift, once the ones that were no longer necessary began to give way and part from my daily experience, what I began to be aware of most during my conscious OBEs was that from the get-go, I never did them alone. So I never went consciously out of body without my larger consciousness. In fact, the larger consciousness, the arrival of the larger consciousness is how they began. It began with the arrival of a tangible presence. I could feel the arrival of this tangible presence inside me and outside of me. I could view it. The visionscape changed. It became less physical. My range of vision began expanding out into the particles that help compose reality, visual reality. And within myself, I would feel this atmospheric change in pressure. I described it then as feeling like being on the inside of a balloon being blown up. It's also very much like when you're going up into the mountains, when you're going up into higher altitudes and you begin to feel that, it's pretty much solely within your head and it feels like you have to pop your ears. Now, that's a very small version of what I was experiencing, which was that on just a grander scale. It included everything, the whole of me, the whole of the environment. Inside of this atmospheric change in pressure, I was let to witness myself slowly stop breathing until I was no longer in this physical matter reality, until I was either in the void or in another reality system. So I would feel the tangible presence arise. I would feel the merging. This tangible presence, this consciousness field would merge with me. I would expand out into that larger field, feel, experience fully what I called the atmospheric change in pressure, and witness myself slowly stop breathing again until I was no longer in this physical matter reality. And this experience, I had conscious shifts. Now, many people don't have the fully conscious shifts. For years, the largest structure, the largest event I experienced was not the landing locations, which were actually minute compared to the actual shifts, which are just phenomenal, which we can maybe go into in the next video. After you have placed or learned to place the concepts of reality and dream on the level playing field, or viewing them, experiencing them as absolute equivalents falling together, and learning to use the concepts interchangeably, you'll undergo this alteration in your brainwave pattern structures, and you will begin to experience the larger reality, okay? A larger presence arriving when it does, or being there as it always is in your experience, and entering it for information and experience as you wish. My name is Casey, and this is the Galactic Travel Channel. Thank you for tuning into our transmission today. We're going to be diving into the idea of improving recall, what we can do to improve dream recall, and just otherwise making it back from our experiences with the data fully intact. Dream patterns. Every night when you lay yourself down, it would be beneficial to you for recall to lay yourself down for the same amount of sleep cycles. So a sleep cycle is going to be 90 minutes long. And this is when the brainwaves process through beta, alpha, theta, delta, and back to beta. It's a 90-minute cycle. So if you generally lay yourself down for 6 cycles, lay yourself down for 6 cycles every night. During a practice session, if you lay yourself down or sit yourself down for 1 cycle or 2 cycles or 3 cycles, always, or most always, sit or lay yourself down for that many cycles. Develop that pattern of awareness where the mind-body system knows this is the length it has in order to achieve the aim at hand, i.e., recall. There are dreams that are very common to being had at the top of the night. There are dreams that are very common for the middle of the night, and dreams that are very common to the top of the morning or bottom of the night. And becoming aware of what these commonalities are in your dream state during these areas of your sleep is also important to your recall. Also, in relation to your dreams, there are repeating dreams. Becoming aware of what these repeating dreams are so that you are more likely to come awake and alert within that field is also critical to your recall. Dream practices. I suggest going to sleep and waking up at approximately the same time each night, each morning, again creating that habit of awareness. Sun, water, meditation to help develop creating that concentrated point of focus. The breath and breathing and doing throughout your day what you want to be doing throughout your day. Doing things that you love, creating the most beautiful day you can imagine. All of this is also helpful to recall. When you create wonderful recall through the day, you are more apt to create experiences in your dreaming and your lucid dreaming and your out-of-body experiences that you want to remember. Wake back to bed. Sleep pattern interruption. This is perhaps the most critical practice to dream recall, because most people, when they get up to start their day, if they're not remembering their dreams right off the cuff, they generally don't take the time. And it's important that you create a space of time upon waking to bring forward the recall, to bring forward the information and data to record it more clearly in your own being, and then also record in your journal. We'll go into that a bit later. So the sleep pattern interruption is to simply, perhaps 90 minutes before you know you have to get up to start your day, interrupt your sleep with an alarm, if the alarm is something that you have to use. After you create this habit of awareness, you'll be able to wake your own self up 90 minutes before it's time to get up, and you won't need the alarm. This is even more beneficial. But using that alarm, again, perhaps 90 minutes to 120 minutes before you need to get up. And then you stay up for a brief period of time. Anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes is ideal. Be very quiet during this time. I suggest not speaking out loud, perhaps going to the restroom, perhaps sitting down to meditate, perhaps doing a breathing pattern, Perhaps just closing the eyes and viewing what it is that you're seeing in front of your closed eyes. Perhaps leaving the eyes open and looking around your space with the idea that you are even now still in a dream environment, a visual field. At the end of the 20 to 30 minutes, lay yourself back down in the supine position, face up, and begin your session. Begin viewing again, perhaps, what it is you're seeing in front of your closed eyes. When you lay yourself down, the attention is always at the brow, always here. The attention is at the brow and with the flow of your inhale and exhale. And this will keep you awake and alert and in observation mode until events begin. Grouping with other like-minded individuals. So if lucid dreaming and out-of-body experience and consciousness exploration and brainwave patterns and the science of awareness and all of this is interesting to you, then grouping with other people who it is also interesting to, who you can speak with, share ideas with, just bring the thoughts and ideas more fully in to a manifest state in this reality is very helpful. This does create an energy and an energetic pattern in your body that is also conducive to recall, to actually just lengthening that experience and event back out into what it is we call our sleeping and or our sessions. Dream journaling. Journaling is perhaps the begin-all, end-all of practices when it comes to recall. And what it is that we're actually performing, actualizing with our journaling is important to cognize. In the beginning, when our recall is not so good, having the alternate, creating the alternate body to hold the data, to hold the energy for us here ground level is critical. And that's fundamentally what we're doing when we journal. We're not just journaling the details. We're grounding them here in this reality. We're letting them be a part of this reality, giving them space here in this reality. And this is going to help open the gates, open the portal through which the information, the data streams, begin to flow more fully, more readily into your conscious state of awareness and into the journal. I recommend journaling all the time, but as you do this over the decades, you do become more apt in your being to hold the information and the energy purely here. The 4 years of my out-of-body experiences, I didn't lose any of that. I hold it purely here. And so this is something that also happens, but even still, I recommend writing it down, blogging it, vlogging it, and putting it as many places as you can in the reality, spreading it out, sending it out in any way you possibly can. The dream diet. This is a big subject. Everyone's diet is going to be a bit different. The idea is to eat a diet that is healthy and helpful to you, most importantly. The items that are included in this diet, again, are going to be very individual to us all, but there is going to be a good deal of overlap. And things that will be in common to us all in the scheme of improving our recall. The first, right at the top of the list, no refined sugar, no caffeine, no alcohol. These are the 3 killers. So these you want to leave entirely out of your diet if you're interested in improving your recall to the point where you're recalling every day, larger and larger quantities of data. Stop eating 3 to 4 hours before going to bed. This is a big one. So you want to be done with your eating so that by the time you lay yourself down for your session or your sleep, the body is not having to focus so much on other activities of the body, and it has more space, more energy to give you for out-of-body experience, lucid dreaming, dreaming, and dream recall. Eat foods that hydrate more than foods that dehydrate. Also very big and very challenging for most people, as most foods, aside from fruits and some vegetables, are dehydrating to the body. They take more water to process, digest, assimilate, and eliminate than what they have in them. And yes, you can account for this with some of the fluids that you're drinking as well. But if you simply eat foods that are more hydrating than dehydrating, this will give you an extra added boost to your recall. Eat foods that create more alkaline ash in the body than foods that create acid ash in the body. Also very challenging, as most foods, aside from fresh fruits and vegetables, also have a habit of creating acid ash in the body, proteins being right at the top of this list. And so, yes, eat proteins, but yes, eat fruits and vegetables more. So it's proportionate. Just eat the fruits that produce more alkaline ash in the body, less foods that create acid ash in the body. This creates a state of health in the body. When the body is healthy, the body is happy, and it's functioning more at its ideal. If you're struggling with recall, if you're struggling with conscious shifts, if you're struggling with energy sensations as you're practicing to consciously shift, then again, begin taking diligent care of the physical construct. Get good with your breath and breathing. Get out into the sun for a little bit every day. Do something different. Don't stay in comfortable places. Always be doing something that maybe normally you wouldn't. Push your comfort levels. I've been suggesting lately for everyone to jump into cold showers, something that nobody likes to think about, but has an amazing effect. And it's super simple, and it's so exhilarating and actually so fun once you acclimate, and you acclimate in there in the first shower. That it just begins to be somewhat fun. So just do something different. Again, push yourself a little further than you are. Don't give yourself a shove, just a little push into doing something a little different or something new, something that, again, normally you would not do. And begin to explore these territories that are just outside your circumference comfort levels. And this will begin to have an effect. Again, the more fun you have with this, the more intelligent observation you can make when engaged in this type of activity, the better the result. The central nervous system will process this information in a way that is advantageous to you. rather than disadvantageous to you. All right, so there's a lot we can do when it truly is, when it genuinely is our desire to have out-of-body experience, to explore additional consciousness space, to explore our own consciousness, to go into the dream fields and be able to shift back into physical space with that data intact, then we just dive in bit by bit by bit. There's always something we can do to help something more come forward every day, every day, every day. And this is a critical part of it all as well. You have to be involved in it every day. It can't be a wishy-washy thing that you do here and there. If you're not bringing back any information from the fields, then bring back that very moment in which you woke. Everything that you can remember, the position that you were laying in, the temperature of the room, your first conscious breath back in physical space. If the birds were out, if it's still nighttime, or if the sun is up, anything. The more you put pen to paper and begin to write, the flow just begins to open. So as you're writing this, you may find that, bits and detail, oh yeah, there was a bird. Just bits and pieces will begin coming through, and you write those down as well. But if you don't go to put pen to paper, as a metaphor, because a lot of times we're typing on the computer, yes? If you don't go to write, if you don't go to put it down, make the log, then the muscle just never gets worked. So bring something forward with you every day. Write something down in your log every day. Push yourself gently out beyond your cozy zones. Do something different. Do something new. Take care of yourself in ways that are maybe new for you also. Just taking better and better care of the physical body. Diving into your energetic structure. Learning how to breathe and follow the breath in ways that are advantageous to you and that keep your central nervous system in check. All of this will help when you get out into the additional fields, and very new things are beginning to happen. You will be able to handle it. You will be able to navigate the new space. And when your central nervous system, when your back bodyguard has your back, and you are prepared in this way, the information will begin to come through easier and easier and easier. And when it does, from this point, the conscious shift from physical space out into the wider reality becomes a possibility and even probability.